Hey everyone, I'm Clara, physical therapist and founder of Good Day Pilates. This is Trainer of the Month Club with Well+Good. Today we're going to be doing a full body strength Pilates workout. We're going to be using a kettlebell. I have a 20-pound kettlebell here. If you have a dumbbell at home or some smaller weights, that will do as well. We're going to get started on hands and knees. So bring yourself up and over to hands and knees with your wrists under your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. You can close your eyes here just as we get settled. Take a big inhale. Feel your ribs expanding wide out to the sides of the room. And then as you exhale, just gently feel your belly button pulling up towards your spine. Your waistline will narrow and your deepest core muscles will engage. We'll take one more breath like that. Big inhale. Ribs expand wide, and then exhale, belly button pulls up towards your spine. And we need those deep core muscles supporting us as we start moving. From here, we're going to reach our left arm straight forward out in front of us, and then your right leg will extend long back behind you. We want to find this long diagonal reach from fingertips to toes, really press down into that supporting hand, and still thinking belly button to spine. Take a breath in here. And then lower the hand, lower the knee. We'll swap sides. Right arm reaches forward, left leg extends back. Again, think reach long from fingertips to heel. Really press into that supporting hand. Take a breath, and then lower down. We'll keep alternating together here. Left arm, right leg, and then slowly lower. Right arm, left leg, and then slowly lower. We'll go for about 2 more each side. And as you feel that weight shift from one side to the other, we want to do our best to keep our torso, our pelvis really still in space. So that's your deep core muscles and those obliques starting to work here. Good, 1 more each side. And then the next time we have left arm and right leg extended, we'll hold it there. From here, we're going to open the arm and the leg a few inches and then close them back to center. We open just a few inches and then close them back to center. Now keep finding space between right ear, right shoulder. And as we move your limbs away from center, can we recruit through those deep core muscles so that the torso stays really still? We're going to take another 4. We should be feeling those core muscles starting to wake up. 3. Last 2. Last 1, you can lower the hand, lower the knee. Second side, right arm, left leg, reach it long. And then again, we start to open and close, just a couple inches, and then pull it back to center. As the arm and the leg move away from midline, how can you use those deep core muscles to stabilize? 5 more. Last 4, keep thinking space between left ear, left shoulder. Last 2. And then last 1, we'll lower the hand and lower the knee. Now we're going to turn to our right hand side and prop onto our left forearm. So we'll take your left forearm to the ground so that your elbow's underneath your shoulder. Knees will be bent and stacked, and top hand can start on your top hip. From here, we're going to float the top leg up just to about hip height, and then we'll lower it back down again. Keep that going. Top leg will lift, and then lower. So it's a small movement to begin. We want to think about the lift of the leg coming from the side of your top hip. So it's that outer hip muscle or that glute med. Now that muscle is very important for stabilizing your pelvis and also keeping the alignment of your hip, knee, and ankle. Especially important when you're standing on one leg. And that really happens every time you take a step. Now, not only are we working that side glute, but I want you to think about the stability coming from that bottom shoulder. So really press down into your left forearm, finding space between left ear and left shoulder. If your neck's getting tired, you're welcome to just look to the floor, and that will just offload the neck a little here. We'll just take 3 more like this. Hopefully by now, we are well and truly starting to feel that right side glute. Now the next time we lift the leg to hip height, we hold it. Start to draw little circles with that right leg, tiny circles here. And we're thinking about thigh bone rolling around in hip socket, doing our best to keep our pelvis really still in space. And as we fatigue, that top hip is gonna wanna roll back. See if you can keep guiding it forward with your top hand. Nice. For 4, 3, 2, and then we're gonna reverse. So let's go the other way. Good, tiny circles here. Thinking about that thigh bone rolling around in the hip socket. And these are those like secret Pilates muscles that you didn't know about until you did Pilates. 5 more. 4, keep pressing that left forearm down. 2, now we're gonna hold that leg at hip height. Start to reach it long underneath you, and then we're gonna fold it back to that tabletop again. Press the heel away, extend it long, and then fold the knee back towards you. Keep that going. Now as you extend through the leg, think about lifting that left side waist a little bit more. Nice. Every time you bend the knee, can we find a deeper crease at the front of that right hip? So we're really controlling with our glutes in both directions rather than just pulling forward with that hip flexor. All right, last 2. And then last one, we'll extend the leg long and hold it. Just rest that right foot on the ground. We're gonna slide the bottom leg a little bit towards the back of the mat, press into the left forearm and lift the hips up. So now you're in a supported side plank. Slowly lower those hips down. Keep going. Press into that left forearm, we lift the hips, and then slowly lower back down. Now really think about scooping up through that left side waist. That bottom left glute is also helping as those hips lift. Good. We're going for 6 more. We'll go for 5, 4. Again, if that neck's getting tired, you can always just look to the floor. Last 2. Alrighty, let's lift our hips and now we'll hold it up there. That top leg again is gonna float up to hip height and then tap back to the floor. Float it up, tap it down. Think about closing those front ribs a little more, plugging the left shoulder back. And now we've taken away some points of contact from the ground, right? Your left hip is now lifted, so we have to work harder through that bottom side waist. 5 more. Last 4. Last 3. Last 2. You can rest the right foot on the ground. Reach your top arm up towards the sky. Then we go for a twist. You're gonna thread the arm underneath you and then slowly reach it back up to the sky. Twisting through the ribs, using those obliques, and then reach the arm back up. Let's just take another 4. Keep pressing that left hip forward. 3. Last 2. Last 1. And then you can lower those hips down. Well done. You can press yourself up just to a quick seat and reach the left arm overhead. Little stretch to that left shoulder, left oblique. Good. And then we're going to lay ourselves down onto our backs. So you can turn to face one end of your mat and then slowly roll all the way down. Feet will plant onto the ground, hip width distance apart, and arms can be by your sides. We're going for a bridge. Tuck the tail, scoop the belly, and roll the hips up into a bridge. You're going to take a little pause at the top. Think about reaching the knees forward. Feel those hamstrings engage. And then we'll roll down slowly, bone by bone. Once your tailbone touches, take a breath, and then we go again. Tuck the tail, scoop the belly, and roll it up. Quick little pause at the top, and then slowly roll it back down. And we'll continue with these articulating bridges, finding movement between each vertebrae. We want to press evenly into both feet and find a connection through your big toe mounds, your little toe mounds, and your heels. So we're feeling really grounded here. Waking up through the back of the legs and opening up the front of the hips. Now, if you want an extra challenge, you're welcome to float those arms to the sky. We'll just take another 3. Last 2. All right, the next time our hips lift, we're gonna hold them at the top. I'm gonna take my hands back to the floor. We'll float the left leg up to a tabletop position. Check that that left hip hasn't dropped. So pick it back up in line with the right and then lower the foot. Right leg is gonna float up. Again, keeping that pelvis really still, and then lower the right foot down. We continue to alternate one leg at a time. So again, as we shift weight from one foot to the other, obviously we have one side of the back of the leg working hard here to keep your hips lifted, but then our deep core muscles and our obliques are working to keep that pelvis nice and still. If you want the extra challenge, again, those arms can go back up. It makes it quite a bit more wobbly. 5 more. 4. Last 3. 2. 1, and then you'll meet me with that left leg in tabletop. From here, we're gonna lower the hips 2 inches and then drive them back up. 6. Little pulses. 5. Now, of course, if this feels better with both feet, you're welcome to take that left foot back to the floor and continue to pulse. Otherwise, we're swapping sides. Left foot down, right leg floats, square off the pelvis, and then we take those little pulses. 8, 7, driving down through that whole left foot. For 4, 3, 2, a little pause at the top, both feet down, and then the slowest one yet, we're gonna melt the spine down bone by bone. Once you get to the bottom, extend the legs forward, and we'll roll up to a seat. So reach forward, tuck your chin, sit all the way up. Let's set up for those side glutes on the second side. So we're gonna come now onto our right forearm. So the right elbow will stack directly underneath your shoulder. Knees will be bent and stacked, top hand to top hip. So we'll start to lift that left leg up to hip height and then lower it back down. And just continuing like that. We're thinking about lifting from the side of that left hip, so that outer left hip. And it's that glute med muscle that helps to stabilize your pelvis and also keep the alignment of your lower leg. And then really pressing that right forearm down at the same time and feeling that lift through your right side waist. So that shoulder blade, that oblique working as well. And if your neck gets tired, feel free to just look down to the floor. We're gonna go for another 5. We should be definitely feeling that left side glute by now. Last 2. Alrighty, let's hold that leg up. Start to draw little circles with that left leg now, so tiny circles around. I always like to imagine I've got a little paintbrush on the front of my knee and I'm just drawing those little circles. Thinking about that thigh bone just rolling around in the hip socket, but everything else staying still. All right, let's reverse. We'll go for 8, 7, and the circles are always the deceptive ones. 4 more. 3, 2, and then just holding that leg up, we'll extend the leg long out underneath you, reaching through the heel, and then bend the knee in towards your chest. Keep going, extend the leg long, and then bend that knee in towards your chest. We continue here. Good, as you reach that leg long, try and keep it up at hip height. Still really pressing into that right forearm for support. Let's take 2 more. And then we'll extend that leg long and hold it there. Just rest that left foot to the floor and just slide your bottom leg back a tiny bit. We're gonna press into the forearm and lift our hips up, finding that side plank and then lowering the hips back down. Pressing into the forearm as you lift your hips and then slowly lowering back down. So finding a little more work through that right shoulder blade, that right oblique. Still thinking about your pelvis staying nice and stable. Good. Now let's just take another 4 here. Last 3. Last 2. And then let's hold the hips up. That top leg is gonna float up to hip height and then tap back down. Little lift and then tap back down. Keep tucking that right hip underneath you so we're not sinking back through the pelvis. Let's take 6. 5, you can always look to the floor if that feels better for your neck. 3, 2. Last one, your foot comes down. We reach the top arm to the sky. Let's go for a twist. We're going to thread it underneath you and then slowly reach back up. Keep going. We twist, twist, twist. And then we reach the arm to the sky. 4 more. Scooping through that right side waist. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1. And then you can lower those hips down, sit yourself up, and just reach the right arm overhead for a little side bend. Opening up through that supporting side. 1 more breath. Okay, bring yourself back up. We're going to grab our weight. So, coming up to a high kneel position, I'm going to bring this kettlebell just in front of me. So if you've got the kettlebell, we're going to flip it around so it's upside down. Holding onto those handles, flip the bell part of the kettlebell up. Knees will be about hip width apart. We're going to go for a kneeling squat here. So nice and slowly, we're going to send our hips back and lean the chest forward. Take a little pause at the bottom. Press your knees down and out, like you're trying to rip the mat in half, and then drive the hips back up. Nice and slow, we continue. Butt goes back, chest goes forward. Pressing into the knees and drive the hips back up. So I'm going to show you from the side angle, but you keep going. If I turn to the side, we want to think about flaring the sit bones and folding at the hips, and then really using the glutes to drive you up. Notice how my shoulders aren't rounding forward. We want to stay wide across the collarbones and a little squeeze of the shoulder blades at the back. Chin stays tucked and back of the neck stays long. Let's just take 2 more. Now, of course, you can do all of this without any weight if that feels better for you. Last one. So our glutes are nice and warm. I'm going to take the kettlebell into my left hand and just reach it down by my side. Right hand comes behind your head, elbow wide. I'm going to take a little lean over to the left. Maybe the weight taps the floor, and then use your right obliques to pull you back up. Little side bend to the left, and then pull back up to center. Keep going like this. Good. So notice how I'm keeping my pelvis nice and still in space. And this lean is really coming from my rib cage. Beautiful. We'll take another 5. Last 4. And we should be feeling this work through that right side body. All of this is going to help us as we come up to our standing work in a little bit. Last one. And then we'll swap hands. So kettlebell comes into your right. Left hand can come behind your head. Nice and tall to start, and then we lean to the right. Maybe the weight taps the floor. Left obliques work to pull you back to center. Keep going. Up and over to the right, little tap, and then slowly come back to center. Good. And you want your chest to stay facing the very front, so we're not twisting, we're just side bending. Let's go for 5. 4. Last 3. Last 2. And then last one. Well done. I'm going to put that kettlebell away just for a moment. We'll pick it up again. And then meet me on hands and knees. We'll take a couple of cat and cows just as we get settled again here, so we can drop the belly, lift the chest, and then press down, scoop the belly round the spine. Let's take 1 more. Arching the spine, opening those collarbones, and then rounding the spine as you press the floor away. And then just meet me back in a neutral spine position. So 1 long line from crown of head to tail. From here, we're going to tuck our toes under and hover the knees, just a couple of inches off the ground. Feel the press into the hands, the spread of the shoulder blades around your back. Slightly flare your sit bones, and at the same time, draw your belly button up towards your spine. So we're staying in neutral spine, but our core's engaged. From here, we're going to tuck our toes under and hover the knees just a couple of inches off the ground. Really press into the hands as you spread the shoulder blades around the back. Slightly flare your sit bones, but at the same time, hug the belly button to the spine. So we're staying in neutral, but our core's engaged. From here, we're going to tap our right knee to the floor. Little twist to the hips. Bring it back to center and swap. Left knee taps. back to center and swap. We've got 8. So still working those obliques for 6, for 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, hold it in center, take a breath in, and then drop your knees to the floor, sit back to a quick child's pose, hips to heels, stretch the arms forward. We'll slowly come back to hands and knees. We're going to walk our hands one palm print forward, tuck the toes, and lift up to a downward dog. So tailbone goes to the sky. Your chest presses back towards your thighs. Maybe pedal out your feet just for a moment, shake the head, wiggle the hips, whatever you need. And we're going to walk our feet forward towards our hands. So meeting me at the top of the mat in a forward fold. Once you're there, feet are hip width apart, you can let your head go, maybe grabbing opposite elbows. Maybe take a quick sway side to side. And then coming back to center, let your arms reach for the floor, soften your knees and roll up to standing, bone by bone. You can take a little roll up, back and down of your shoulders when you get to the top. Then we're going to pick up our kettlebell again. So you want to be nice and safe so you can squat down and pick that kettlebell up. And then we're standing again facing the top of our mat. Kettlebell in your right hand, right foot takes just like a half step back. We're going for a split squat. Hips will go back, chest will go forward. We want to think about leaning over that left thigh and then really driving down into that left heel as you stand back up. We're going to continue like that. Hips back, chest forward. Flare the sit bones on the way down and then push into the left foot as you stand. So we're thinking about our left glute, left hamstring driving this movement of the body, but our right shoulder blade is helping to stabilize by holding that kettlebell. So when we have opposite hip and opposite shoulder working together, this is our posterior oblique sling of muscles, and they help to stabilize our pelvis and our spine from the back as we move, especially when we're walking and running. Just 2 more like this. We should be starting to feel that left glute. And then we're going to hold it down on that next one. So pausing there, your right toes are going to tap toward the back of the mat, and then just tap them in again. Right toes tap back, right toes tap in. Keep this going. We've got 8. So now loading up into that left glute even more. Keep thinking about your left hip hugging inward. 5, 4, last 3, last 2, and then step the right foot back and hold it there. Lean forward just a little more. We're going to row with that right arm. Bending the elbow up, squeeze the shoulder blade, and then lower it down. We just got 6 of these. So 5 more. Good, last 4. Trying to keep that left knee behind your left toes and tracking straight forward. Last 2. And then last 1, you can stand up and we'll swap sides. So kettlebell into your left hand, left foot takes just like a half a step back, and then we go for those squats. Butt goes back, chest goes forward, again really flaring the sit bones, pushing into the right foot and stand up. Keep going. So we're hinging at the hips here, thinking about softening through the hip flexor on the way down, and then driving up through the back of the leg. Collarbones stay nice and wide, and that left shoulder blade's working hard to hold onto that kettlebell. Let's just go for 2 more. Okay, the next time we're down in that squat, we're gonna hold it, really pressing into the right foot. Left foot's gonna tap back and then tap forward. So as we shift into this single leg work, try not to let your right hip shift out to the right. Keep hugging that right outer hip in towards center. Just for 4, we keep leaning forward over that right leg, really loading up that right glute. So let's step the foot back now. We hold, get a little longer through the spine, and then we row. Lift the left elbow, lower it down for 6. Last 5, last 4, squeezing back through that shoulder blade, last 2, and then last 1, and you can stand up. Hold the kettlebell in both hands. We're gonna squat to place it just between your big toes. And then once you're standing again, we'll tuck the chin and roll down into your forward fold. This time we're gonna plant our hands to the floor and step back to a plank. Last bit of hard work. Pressing into the floor and then lengthen the chest forward. Now from here, we're gonna tap the kettlebell with our left hand. Back to the floor. Tap it with your right hand. Back to the floor. Keep going. Now, making sure we're keeping that pelvis as still as we can. Of course, there'll be a little bit of movement, but we want those obliques to work to stabilize. All right. Now, if you want, we can start to speed this up. Let's go for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, hold your plank, take a breath in, and then child's pose as you breathe out. Hips to heels and stretch the arms forward. One more breath. Just walking your hands back towards your knees. Come up to sit on your heels. And that was Trainer of the Month Club with Well+Good. I'm Clara, physical therapist and founder of Good Day Pilates. For more videos just like this, subscribe to Well+Good.